Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs. Today we're going to do a very easy, a beginner's Loomigurumi design. We're going to make a smiley face emoticon, and we're going to just use yellow, and then we're going to do the facial features using black. So as I said, this is beginner's guide to Loomigurumi, and we're going to start. I'm going to do it nice and slow so that you can get a good idea. So I'm going to have 6 stitches in my magic ring. I'm going to use my loom to make the magic ring, just this one peg. Okay, you don't need to use a peg, you can use anything really. There's another contraption, the single little loom bit that comes with your Rainbow Loom hook. You can use that as well. You can use your hook if you're quite proficient. You can use your hook. You don't need to use the peg, but I do it so that I can show you very clearly and precisely what is happening. So using a peg from your loom, single band, you're going to wrap that band around the peg once and twice, and that gives you 3 little loops. And you're going to, as I said, we're doing 6 stitches in it. You're going to push your hook down that peg so that you're inside that band, dragging your first band back. And I'm going to zoom a bit closer. All right. We're going to do this real slow and easy. Drag that first band back through like this and reclaim it. You're going to take the one closest to you up and over, making a little slip knot, and you're then going to budge that around your peg. Take your next band, leave this loop on your hook, push back down, and you're going to grab that second band. So you've now got your original loop for your first slip knot. Here's your second band. So take this middle loop up and over, so you now have 2 little slip knots on your hook, and you're going to join them together by taking the first one up and over like that, and then you're left with 1. Again, budge it around. Let's go back down and we'll do our next band, pull it through, and we're going to do the same again. The middle band here, up and over, and then join them together. Oops. Join them together like that and budge around. Back down. This is our 4th band. Okay, so move the middle one up and over, and then join the 2 of them together, budge around. The same again for the 5th band. Move the middle one up and over and join together, and here's our 6th one. Bring it through the middle one up and over, and then join them. That is all you need the loom for. You can put that away now. You're going to move these stitches, evenly space them around the ring. So just kind of move them with your fingers so that they form a ring. This is called our magic ring. Okay, now if you have a look, you can see these little teardrops. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 6 is on our hook. Now what we're going to do is increase this from 6 little stitches around to 12, which means we need 12 bands. But we're also going to use something called a stitch marker. This is a little stitch marker I got from my local craft shop. If you don't have these, a C-clip works just as well, okay? You can use a C-clip and it will be fine. So, taking your hook, this is stitch number 1 here, this little teardrop shape. You're going to push your hook through it, okay? Now you're not going underneath it, which is here, okay? You're just going through that little teardrop shape at the top. Taking a single band, you're going to put that band on the tip of your hook here and pull it through and reclaim. You're going to take this middle band, okay, this middle loop up and over, so you've got your little slip knot, and then you're going to join it together to this one that's on your hook, up and over. And at this point we're going to put our stitch marker, because that is our first stitch. Okay, so we're going to put our stitch marker there. As I said, use a C-clip if you don't have a stitch marker. They're not very expensive, you can get them from your local craft shop. Alright, so next what we need to do is make sure we have 2 stitches in each of these stitches. We've only got 1, so we're going to go back through that first little loop there and we'll do another one, and these are called single crochets. So reclaim it, the middle, up and over, and then join. So you've now done 2 single crochets in that first stitch. Now on a pattern, single crochet is represented by SC. Here's our second stitch. We're going to push our hook through, grab our first band, and do our first single crochet like that. The stitch that we're doing where we're putting 2 single crochets in a stitch is called an increase. So make sure you've got both of them on and do your little slip knots and join. Okay, so we don't call them slip knots, they're single crochets. Here's our third stitch. Our first single crochet and our second single crochet. Here's our next stitch here. Our first single crochet, back through again in that same stitch. Here's our second single crochet. The 5th stitch, here's our first single crochet, and let's go back through that 5th stitch for a second single crochet. Here's our 6th and final stitch of this round. There's our first single crochet, and here is our second single crochet. So doing 2 single crochets in the same stitch is called an increase. Alright, next what we're going to do, this is the beginning, this is the end. Let's count our stitches. Number 1 has a stitch marker on it, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Number 12 is on our hook. So remember I said we were going to go from 6 that we originally started to 12. Push your hook through that first stitch. Okay, we're going to do a single crochet, so pull it through, one over the other, join, take your stitch marker out and pop on that stitch there. That is our new first stitch. I'm going to zoom back a bit just so that we don't get too close to each other. If my phone will cooperate, there we go. Right. The next round that we're going to do, which means going all the way around from the start to the end, is going to be a pattern of single crochet followed by an increase. So we just did a single crochet in that first stitch. So this is stitch number 2. You're going to put your hook through it and you're going to do an increase, which is 2 single crochets in that stitch. So here we go. Here's 1. And here's our second one back through that second stitch. So you've got 2 single crochets in that one. In the third stitch, you're just doing 1 single crochet. And then you're going to do an increase. So an increase, it'll be sometimes called an increase, and in a pattern it'll be an INC, or it can be 2 stitches in 1 stitch. Some people call it that. Now we'll do a single crochet and an increase. Let's get a few more bands. A single crochet and an increase. A single crochet and an increase. a single crochet, and an increase. Now we will count how many stitches we have to make sure that we are correct and that we haven't dropped any. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18 is on our hook, and that's correct. Our next pattern for our next round is going to be 2 single crochets followed by an increase. Alright, so we'll do our first stitch with a single crochet, move your stitch marker so you know that's the beginning. The next stitch is another single crochet, and the third stitch is an increase, 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And you're going to do this again all the way around. So a single crochet, a single crochet, and an increase. A single crochet, a single crochet, and an increase. Single crochet, single crochet, here we do an increase. Single crochet, single crochet, and an increase. Now this is, you're making a ball, and it's a really good way of practicing, because when you do amigurumi, everything really is made up of different shaped balls and tubes and all that sort of jazz, so it's really good practice to make something like this. Single crochet, and we're finishing on an increase. So now we have, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 and 24 stitches. We're going to do another one because we're making it a big ball. Okay, well, not that huge, but bigger than this. If you just wanted a smallish ball, this would be quite a good size, and then you could start just doing your single crochets. But the more that you add increases to it, the bigger your base will be before you start your single crochets. So now what we're going to do, we started doing a single crochet with an increase, then we did 2 single crochets and an increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. So here's our first stitch here with our stitch marker. Here's our first band. Move your stitch marker, that's your first single crochet. Second and third. Now we're only going to be increasing up to like 3 single crochets and an increase. If you wanted to make a bigger ball, you could do the next round as 4 single crochets and an increase, and then 5 single crochets and an increase. The more you do like that, the bigger the base gets. Okay, so we're going to 3 and an increase. So let's do our increase now, and then we do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and now we do our increase. Back through that same stitch, and then we do 3 single crochets. and an increase, and 3 again, and an increase, and 3 again, and an increase, one, 2, 3, and our last one is an increase, and we will count how many stitches you have now. There's our first one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30 is on our hook. So this is as big as I want my base to be. I'm now going to start coming up. If you, as I said, if you want to make it bigger, you do 4 single crochets and an increase, 5 single crochets and an increase. It's completely up to you. Some of the larger projects you can go up to 12 single crochets and an increase. As I said, it's completely up to the pattern that you're using. What we're going to do now is start doing our single crochet rounds. So push your hook through your first stitch here, single crochet, move your stitch marker, and we're just going to do single crochet all the way around, and this will be round number 1 of just our single crochets. I want to do 9 of these, okay? So what I tend to do, I get 9 little bands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, and every time I start a new round I take one from this little pile. Well, I'm already doing round 9, so I'm going to take one so that I know I have 8 left, okay? And as I go round I take them from a different pile so that I still know I have 8, and it just means you don't have to stop and pick up a pen and paper and write it all down. So we're just going to go round like this, doing single crochets. Every time you get to the beginning where your stitch marker is, you will do your first stitch and move your stitch marker to it so that you can continue counting your rounds. That is very important. You also want to make sure you can randomly check that you're not increasing your stitches by mistake, putting 2 into the same stitch by mistake. Each stitch at this stage should only have 1 single crochet in it. Make sure you go through both the loops. You've got 2 little loops here, one either side. There's 1 loop and there's 2, see? You want to go through both of them. We made white ones of these at Christmas time and didn't put faces on. We just made a bunch of them and my daughter thought they were hilarious. It was like snowballs. We were having snowball fights without any snow. This is my last stitch of this round. Okay, so now I'm back to the beginning, and I'm going to take one from this pile here, do my single crochet and move my stitch marker. So I'm working in what's called continuous rounds. It forms like a spiral, alright, and that's what's called a continuous round. And as you can see, the stitches are quite even. So you're going to continue doing single crochets until we have done all of these rounds, which is this round and 7 more. 2, 4, 6, 7, yeah. Alright, so I will catch you back when you've done that. Pause the video and I'll catch you back when you've done that. Okay, so I'm back and I have done my 9 rounds of single crochet, and this is what I have come up with. So now what we have to do is start closing it in, and in order to do that we mimic what we did at the beginning with our increases, but we mimic it with decreases. So we'd gone up to 3 single crochets and an increase. So what we're going to do is in reverse order, we're going to do 3 single crochets and a decrease, and then the next round will be 2 single crochets and a decrease, single crochet and a decrease, and then we just finish off with decreases. So let's put our hook back in, and we're going to do 3 single crochets. Now I already have done the first single crochet, because remember when we move our stitch marker we put it on our first one. So we've done 1, 2, 3, and now we do a decrease. Now to do a decrease I'm going to come in a bit so that you can see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, you push your hook, let's get that stitch marker out of the way, get out of the way you. Push your hook through the next stitch as if you were going to do a single crochet, but then you're going to capture the stitch next to it as well. You're joining those 2 stitches together. So it's a bit of a trick. You've pushed it through the front, but then you can't just go through the back like that. You have to go through the front again, alright? And you have to capture both of the stitches. So you go through the front of the first stitch and then stretch it so that you're through the front of the next stitch as well. And then we're going to join those 2 stitches together with our single band. Pull through. I tend to just pull this out just a little bit to get my band through, and then I pull it so that it's evenly spaced, and then you put one through the other and join just like normal with a single crochet. Now again we're going to do 3. This one here is that stitch that we just joined, so our next stitch is here, so make sure you can see that. Okay, that one is knotted in to here, so this is our next one. 1, 2, 3, and here's our next. So you go through and then through the stitch next to it. Okay, drag your band back. I pull it just a bit to help me get through, even it up and pull through, and then we'll do another 3. 1, 2 and 3, through the first stitch, through the second stitch, and join them together with a single band. One, 2, 3, through. Now the trick also is to try not to stretch your bands too much, because if you stretch them it will take longer for them to get back into shape. Bands usually do relax after a little while. They go back into their original shape, but not all bands do. Rainbow Loom ones are very good at doing it, but not all bands do. So when you go through and through, try not to stretch too much, but the big one to not stretch too much is this little one here. As you put your finger through, pull it through that first loop, but then you're tempted to stretch it hugely to get it through this second stitch. So try and not stretch it too badly. If you stretch it, you just end up with bigger gaps between your stitches, and then you can see the stuffing quite clearly. 3, and our last 2 stitches here are joined together, a decrease. Now in a pattern it might say it's a DEC for decrease. It might call it a 2 tog, 2, number 2 and TOG, which is 2 stitches together. Alright, so here we're back at the beginning. Push your hook. Now it looks odd, I know, because you think, oh, I want to go in here, but that's already looped in, so that we're back to the beginning now. Push your hook through, single crochet, and move your stitch marker to that first stitch. Okay, so we've come in a bit. I'm going to zoom back so that you don't miss what I'm doing. So our next round, that was 3 single crochets and a decrease. Now we're going to do 2 single crochets and a decrease. We've done 1 single crochet already. Let's do a second. Now we do a decrease again. Ready? Here we go. And now we do another 2 single crochets. 1. Whoa! The good thing is, if it does unravel, it doesn't go very far because they're in little slip knots. See? So we didn't really lose too much. That was our decrease. So 1, 2, and a decrease. One, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2. These are our last 2 stitches that you're decreasing for this round. Here's back to the beginning, do a single crochet and move our stitch marker like that. Okay, so it's beginning to happen. Here's our little head. Well, little head, I suppose. It's a face, isn't it? Not a head. But if you were making a doll or something, a bear, you know, this could be a body or it could be the head. It's completely opens a Pandora's box, really, of what you can create, doesn't it? Once you know how to do a circle, a sphere. All right, so we're going to now do 1 single crochet. I feel like the Count from Sesame Street. 1 single crochet. And then a decrease. So we've done our 1, we're going to do a decrease. Get the stitch marker out of the way, and then 1 and a decrease. Now the reason that I'm not stuffing it already is because I hate looming with the stuffing in it because it gets all over the place. So I really try and get as much done as I can and then stuff at the last minute. And if yours is beginning to look a bit bedraggled and it's not looking like it's the right shape, usually once you've actually got your stuffing in, it starts to look a bit healthier and more like a ball. So doing a single crochet, and my last stitch is a decrease. I'm going to go into that first stitch, do a single crochet, move my stitch marker, so I've left just enough room for me to do some stuffing. Okay, that's where I'm going to do that. I'm going to just hook that up here, so just enough room to get some stuffing in here. Now the other thing that we want to do, we said we were making a smiley face, so we better do that. Now I'm using black bands. I'll get the yellow ones out the way so we've got a bit of room. A couple of ways you could do it. You could use buttons for eyes if you chose to. I had a look at it online and I figured that it's more of a sort of straight up and down eye. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of bands and wrap once and twice like this. And then I'm going to actually slide onto 2 yellow bands because I want to tie off with the yellow. I don't want it to look too odd, so I'm going to do like that. Okay, this is the back. This stitch marker indicates the back, so this is the front. So what I'm going to do is work out where I want to place my eye, come through, and you want to always want to make sure that you capture at least a band between where you're doing this. Okay, so I'm going to put back here. Make sure you've got both on your hook. So you should have 4 little loops. And then take a single yellow and pull it through and tie off. Now don't tie off too tight at the minute. You come back to make it a little tighter. What you want to do is make sure that it's positioned correctly. So let's do that again for the other side, and then if we need to adjust, we can do so. Slide those 3 wrapped bands onto 2 yellow, pretty them up. Now you want to approximate the same height that you already did, so I'm going to go from here to here. Alright, I'm going to push it in this side here, pop those 2 bands on. You want to make sure you pull both the bands through, and then I'm going to come out. Where did I say I was coming out? Here. There we go. And it is trial and error for you to get it right. You might have to move it a couple of times. You might want them closer together. So again, one over the other in a loosish slip knot. Have a look, see if that's how you want the eyes. Okay, if that's correct, all you need to do is go back in and tighten those slip knots. You're not going to see those tie off bands because they'll be hidden inside. Alright, so you can just tie them off nice and tight. You can pretty these up again if you need to. You put your hook through and you sort of twirl them around. As I said, you could use buttons, you could use the safety toy eyes. They work really nicely as well. But if you're using bands, that's what I would do. If you do have the safety toy eyes, I really do like the safety toy eyes. I have these larger ones here. They would probably be, I suppose, I think these are the 9mm ones. Let me get this out of the way. I'm going to snip these off so that I can show you, okay? If you're doing that, be careful that you don't snip your creation. Alright, so option 2, again, line up with the back and you'll push your eyes through, and you can use big eyes, you can use little eyes, it's completely up to you. And I want this to be in the middle, so I'm going to squish it down so that I can see roughly where I want it. So I'll have one here and I'll have the other one about here. Now with the toy safety eyes, they have a backing to them that once you've clipped it in, it's really hard to undo them. It doesn't really matter, because when you're doing bands, you can just stretch the band out a bit and move the eye. So it doesn't matter if you have locked it into place and you think, oh, bum, I need to move it. Well, all you do is, and you push it until it clicks. All you do is just take it out from here and pop it through, and voila. There, did you hear me, Ludo? I said voila. Alright, so where did I pop this? I pop it through from the back if I'm replacing where I want it. If I can grab hold of it. Come here. I think that's where I want it. There we go. Alright, so there's his little eyes. Now we want to do a smiley mouth. So, a couple of ways you can do mouths. You could use yarn to make a mouth if you wanted to. I tend to approximate on him where I want the mouth to start, which in my case would be probably about here. I'm going to measure from under the eyes. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to take my first black band, pull it through, and I've just got a couple of yellow bands in between. I'm going to reclaim, put one over the other. Then I'm going to go to my next spot, which is going to be just under here. And again, this is something that you have to work out where you want it. Pull it through, but capture this loop on it at the same time. I think it looks better. And then reclaim, and one over the other. Go to the next spot that you're doing, which for me will be maybe here. Pull my band through, capture the loop that's on your hook, and one over the other. And I'm now going to go, and you sort of follow the shape that you've made here, and you might have to put your finger inside your creation so that you have something to push against. Capture the loop that's on your hook, and one over the other. And I said I was going to finish about by the eye, so let's have a look here. I might have to move my eye to accommodate my smile. Let's move to here. Let's see how we do. Oh, I think that's okay for the smile. So I might move my eye to this spot here. What I'm going to do, I've got the loop here from where I finished with the black. I'm going to push my hook through that last spot there where the black finishes. Hope you can see that. Pull it through to the inside. Okay, there's my little loop here on the inside. Okay, I'm going to find a nearby yellow band or two, and with a yellow band I'm going to slide through those 3 little loops and tie off in a slip knot, nice and tight. But that's how I've done the mouth. I am going to move the eye because I want the eye to be in line with the mouth. Now either I can come in, like with this one I could come to here, which that might work. So let's move that one, moving my eyes around. Let's see how this looks. Hey, come here. Get back. Okay, so I had it there. Let's move it to here and see how we look. That's pretty good. I think I like that. For some reason these are quite tight, and I'm not quite sure why they're so tight. So there we are. And because this is stretched, because I had the eye in it before, it's going to need a little while to relax down. Okay, but there is my little face. Now we have to stuff it. So I use the 100% polyfill stuffing. You could use cotton wool, you can use tissues. I had one lady who was busy chopping up her husband's old t-shirts. I've had people using tissue paper. They've used grocery bags, toilet paper. Stuff this in. I like the polyfill because it's quite light. Now the trick with stuffing is you don't want to stuff it so much that you make the stitches pull apart and you see huge great big gaps in your creation. You do not want that to happen, okay? So it's a case of fill it just enough, but a little bit less is best. So I think that is perfectly fine. It's not oozing out all over the place. And we're going to close him up. So to close up, go back to your little stitch holder, push your hook through. You can actually take that off now. You don't need it, okay? Because all we're doing is push the stuffing down so you can grab the bands, and we're doing decreases. No single crochets, just decreases. So with a single band, go through, and you decrease and join together. And then the next one. And as you can see, I push the stuffing down so that it doesn't get caught up in the bands. Push the stuffing down. And this little opening will get smaller and smaller. Oops, let's make sure we just get that one band, that stitch. One. And I'll do one more just here. And then I'm going to go through this one here, and I have my original, my other loop here. I'm going to go through and go through the loop as well, and I'm going to tie off in a slip knot, nice and tight. And then what I'm going to do is go through the top part of my my creation, or you can just sort of, you're wanting to tuck this inside, so find a spot where you can push your hook in through your creation and pull it back so that it's hidden inside and not sticking out the bottom. Now this will relax down. Okay, it doesn't look the prettiest once you do your closure, but that's going to be on the bottom anyway. So there you are. There is your little emoticon and a happy face. Hope you have a lovely happy day, and yeah, see you for the next tutorial. Bye.